Hello everybody, it has been a little while. I am back to film a video for you about Kickstarter. Wow! Oh, it's so exciting! So, first of all, this is a disclaimer. Everything that I'm telling you, talking about, showing you is correct to my knowledge at the time of filming this video. Now, the reason I say this is because things change, platforms change, fees change, life changes. So when you're watching this video, things might have changed. However, at this time, as far as I'm aware, things are accurate. So there we go, little disclaimer out of the way. So Kickstarter is a platform where you can basically get crowdfunding. It's a little bit like pre-orders. So if you've got like a product or something that you want to make and you either don't have the money to invest in it or you're not really quite sure how it's going to do, you can create a campaign and wonderful, lovely people will come on Kickstarter and support your campaign by paying money for whatever it is you're going to give as a reward to help you kickstart, hence the name, your dreams, your goals, whatever it is that you plan to do. That is what Kickstarter does. So this video is going to basically talk you through some tips, some hints, some information, and kind of show you a bit about how the platform works and what's involved, in case you are thinking of running a Kickstarter but you're not really sure where to start. So let's dive in. Now, I have run 10 Kickstarter campaigns in my 5 years of running my business, and 8 out of 10 have been successful. So, you know, that's an 80% success rate. I'd say that's pretty good. The 2 failed campaigns I had were quite early on in my career, and yeah, since then I have had lots of successful campaigns where we have reached the funding goal and even exceeded it many times. The first thing that I want to talk about is following. So you don't need a huge following, whether it's on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. You don't need to have hundreds and thousands of followers in order for your Kickstarter campaign to be successful. So first of all, Kickstarter is a bit like a marketplace. Like, people specifically go there in order to support people's projects and campaigns. So when I first ran my first ever Kickstarter campaign for an enamel pin, I think I had about 100 followers on Instagram. My followers were like friends, family, and just randomers that had picked me up. My first campaign was successful, and that just shows that you don't need to have loads and loads of followers for it to work. Now, people can actually follow you on Kickstarter, and so as the years go by and the more campaigns you do, the more followers you'll get, and people will come back and support multiple projects from you. Now, for this campaign that I literally just finished, I had no followers. The reason being is because my Kickstarter was under my old name, and once you set up a Kickstarter and run a campaign, you can't change your account name. So it was under my old account name, and for the last 9 campaigns, I've always run it under my old name. And this time I was like, you know what? I want to change it. I'm Lila Rocks. That's my business name. I'm going to set up a new account. I'm going to do this. So off I went with no followers on Kickstarter. And I did my campaign and it was successful. So again, it doesn't matter if you don't have any followers on Kickstarter. It's not the be all and end all. So if you're not sure where to start, a good place to look is at other people's campaigns. Now, I'm not saying you should copy people, please don't copy people, but you can get quite a lot of information about how they run their campaign, what information they put in there, what they put in their updates. It's a great way to do a little bit of research, get a little bit of inspiration before you start your project. So I definitely recommend kind of searching out similar campaigns on Kickstarter to see how other people have done it. But again, I stress, please do not copy people, because that is not okay. Okay. One of my big tips, which I have never done in the past until this last campaign, is when you are creating your campaign on Kickstarter, I would highly recommend adding your business name or your name that you go by in the title. Now, you think that if you search for the person's name, their campaign would come up. but it's not always the case. You can search for my old business name, and I think like 2 of my 9 campaigns that I ran on there come up. And I didn't put my business name in the title on any of them. So it's a little bit kind of like hit and miss. I'm not sure where it's picking it up for the ones that it does show. But this time around, I added, it was Celestial Potion Pins by LuLaRocks, which means if anybody goes on there and goes, oh, I want to search for LuLaRocks, my campaigns are going to come up. So that is my first major tip for you. Now, I think we should dive in and I'll kind of show you what it looks like when you start a project. Over here, we've got a button, Start a Project. This is, you know, start a project. Okay, first of all, we need to choose what kind of category your campaign will come under. So whether you are trying to do a comic, want to do some crafts, maybe you've got, I don't know, some food, you want to start a food truck. There's all different ones, different categories that you can choose. So I think I normally go under fashion and accessories because quite often I do enamel pins. However, sometimes I do stationery, so that would go under something else. So I'm just going to choose that for the moment. Additional subcategory. If it's something like, I don't know, that can be described with multiple categories, you can choose that. So let's say I'm doing enamel pins, but they're also kind of like, we'll do design, product design. There we go. Okay, location. Choose your location. Oh wow, no, you cannot type to find it, right? We'll do scrolling. United Kingdom. Got their rules. Very exciting. There's things you can't do. Make sure you check them out and read them. Okay, so now we are ready to set up our campaign. There are lots of different sections that you need to complete. The first one, basics. This is your title, kind of like a mini description. You can change your categories here. You can add in your location, add in a header image. You can also add a project video. Okay, so you want to put in your target launch date. I want to launch my Kickstarter campaign. I'm going to say, let's say Monday. Okay, so here it comes up with a recommendation that says you might need more time. And the reason is because there's a few steps that you need to go through that do take a little while. There we go. Now it tells you what date you need to get each step done by and that you should have enough time to do it. However, bear in mind, sometimes it takes less time than what they are recommending, and this doesn't matter, you can change it. To be fair, it says optional. You don't even have to put your target date in. I think it's just give you a little bit of a guideline as to when you need to get things completed based on when you want to get it launched. Okay, campaign duration. You can either choose, I want to do it for 100 days. Oh, okay, no, you can't, sorry. I take it back, maximum is 60. I want to do it for 58 days. Or you can just say, I want to end it on the 31st of May because, you know, a lot of people get paid at the end of the month and it's the perfect time to end it. You can even choose the time that you want to end your campaign. Next is the funding. Let's talk about the money. Now, I'll be honest. You can generate this spreadsheet that they have created to help you with your budget. I don't like it. I've always done my own budgets. It's up to you. You can generate their spreadsheet, view spreadsheet. Okay, so here's the spreadsheet. You kind of add in your expected totals, like, oh, I think this thing's going to cost me £500 to make. I think the packaging is going to be £50. I think to ship it to Iran, it's going to cost me, I don't know, £50. I'm not paying anyone labour, so £600 in total. They then add on their Kickstarter fee, processing fee, and then they add on a margin of error, which, I mean, they do 10%, it's quite a lot, so then it takes up to £800. There's all these different tabs, you can kind of really break it down if you are that specific, but like I said, I like to work out my own budget and totals, and not use their spreadsheet. Yeah, I think you complete the spreadsheet and then it gives you like a little kind of graphic. Let's delete that. It'll give you a little graphic here that kind of shows which how much funds are for each section, and apparently it gives you a better chance of being featured on Kickstarter if you use it. So when I say featured, I mean like they'll put you on the main page, like, oh, creator of the week, or campaign of the month or whatever it is. Or you can do it the old school way, like me. You can calculate it on your own little spreadsheet and you can just add your total in here. So we're gonna go £600. One thing I will say is that you need to really make sure you know how much everything is going to cost, because I have been stung in the past a little bit, but it's not the end of the world because luckily I have funds in my business that I can put towards these things. You need to make sure that you have got an accurate quote from your manufacturers if you are going through a manufacturer. Alternatively, you might be making something yourself that you don't really need to get a quote from a factory. Either way, you need to work out how much your item is going to cost. You need to work out whether there's going to be any specific packaging. So you really need to think about your item as a whole before you go into this Kickstarter. You know, like my enamel pins, for example, come on a backing card. If you're having something that needs also a little sticker on there, you need to calculate that, because otherwise you're just going to kind of shoot yourself in the foot if you don't work it out. So make sure that all of your costs are included. Okay, from there, then you're going to add your Kickstarter fees, which I believe is around 10%. I think there's a 5% Kickstarter fee and a 5% payment processing fee. So I have always just then added on 10%. Right, let's say my items are going to cost me £600, so plus 10% is another 60. So at the moment we're at 660. Now, next I would probably round it up, add a little buffer, maybe to £700, just in case, because you never really know, prices might rise of the supplies that you are looking at. A lot can change in a month, and by the time you come to buy these things, the prices might have changed. So it's definitely worth having a buffer, and sometimes maybe your maths is just really bad, and if you don't have that buffer and you've made a bit of an error, then again you might screw yourself over. So it's good just to add a little bit on, just in case. One of the parts that really catches people out is shipping. Now, I get a lot of questions from people on social media about running Kickstarter campaigns, which is part of the reason I'm filming this video. I've been saying I'm going to film this video for like a year, maybe even longer. So one of the things that people come to me about is the funding, how much your goal should be, and how to work in the shipping. And I have never managed to successfully explain myself because I don't really know how to explain it. So I will try my best here to explain the shipping and hope that you get it. Okay, so to my knowledge, you've kind of got two options with regards to the shipping of your items. Now, I got screwed over on my first campaign because I didn't realise that the shipping amount goes towards your goal, which means that I hit my goal for, I don't know, let's say it was £200, thinking that I had enough money to put this pin into production. And then when the campaign ended, I realised that I had to pay for people's shipping out of that, and I didn't have enough money left for the pins, so I had to add to it myself. Hence where this little margin, nice little margin buffer would have come in handy. I'm really sorry, the lighting, it's cloudy and the sun is going in and out and the lighting's all over the place, so I apologise. Anyway, back to what I was talking about. Okay, when people pledge for an item, I'll try and make this simple. Let's say that they are buying an enamel pin off you that is, I don't know, £10. That's what they're backing, that's what they're giving you, or pledging that they are going to give you, £10. And the shipping is going to cost, say, £5. That is a total of £15. Now, because they pay £10 for the pin, £5 for shipping, and it's separate on there, you would assume that Kickstarter would work out that £10 needs to go towards your campaign and the £5 is for shipping, but Kickstarter does not. No. So we've already worked out that it's going to cost us, say, £600 for our pins. Instead of putting £10 towards that, it puts £15 towards that, which means you're going to reach your goal before you actually reach your goal. Does that make sense? Probably not. I just don't know how to explain it any better than that. So, you know, you'd think an easy solution would be, oh, well, I'll just add £5 for every person. but how do you know how many people are going to back your campaign? How do you know where they're going to live and how much the shipping costs? It's very, very messy. So the way that I do it, and it might not be the best way to do it at all, but the way I do it is I say, okay, £600. Each pin cost me £10. So if I divide 600 by 10, I need 60 backers to fund this campaign. So I then work out the average shipping price. Depending on where you're shipping, you might only ship to your country, but if you're shipping worldwide like I do, I have kind of one rate for the UK, one rate for Europe, and one rate for everywhere else. So let's say the average, I mean the highest one is like, I don't know, £5, and the middle one is like £2. We'll say it's like £3.50 in the middle, is that right? I'm not very good at maths. We'll say it's £3.50. So I would then say 60 times £3.50 is 210. And that is how much shipping I need to add on. That's a lot of shipping. This is just an example. And that's the best way I have found to do it, is to work out an average shipping cost, work out how many backers you need, and add that all together, basically. However, if all 60 of my backers are from the US, for example, and therefore the most expensive shipping, I am going to be short. And if they're all from the UK, I'm going to have more money left over. But you just don't know who you're going to get. And that is why this part of the campaign or project or Kickstarter, as far as I'm concerned, is flawed. Option 2, oh wow, this is a lot on just shipping. Option 2 is to use an external platform. I think it's called BackerKit. Now, I've never used this because I always forget, but next time I run a campaign, I'm going to try and use BackerKit. And I think the way BackerKit works is nobody pays for shipping on Kickstarter. You don't include any shipping fees, totals, or anything in your goal. And then at the end, BackerKit will ask for shipping. Like I said, I don't know, I haven't used it, but basically people will pay for shipping based on where they are specifically, and it's all done separately. So I am going to give it a go. Maybe when I give it a go, I can do a video on how to use BackerKit and whether it's any good. Maybe. But for the moment, you could look into that if you really don't understand what the hell I said about shipping, or if you think that what I said is absolute rubbish. Like I said, I am sorry if that part was a bit confusing. I've never managed to explain it right. It makes sense in my head, but I just can't get it out. Anyway, let's move on. So, we've done our funding. Next, we need to think about our rewards. You can do so many different things for rewards. You can offer the item itself that you're going to make, like the enamel pin. You could offer stickers. You could offer bookmarks. There's lots of different kind of ways that you can run it, and this is one of the times I would definitely recommend checking out other people's campaigns, see what they've done for their rewards and how they've worked it into their funding goal. Some people put on discounted bundles, like, you know, an enamel pin is normally £10 and you can get 3 for, I don't know, £28. Or maybe you'll do early bird rewards, where if you come and you're the first 10 backers, you can get it for £8 instead of £10. Or if you come and pledge within the first 24 hours, you can get the special price. There's lots of different things you can do, but I would definitely recommend doing some kind of deal. Normally all of my rewards are cheaper than what they're going to be once they're in my shop. So if my enamel pin was £10 on Kickstarter, it's probably going to be like £11-12 in my shop, because these people are coming and supporting you, and yes, okay, they're getting an item out of it, but there needs to be some kind of incentive. Like, why are they going to come and support you on this project, on this campaign, rather than just wait and buy it once it's in your shop and they can actually see what the product looks like? So special pricing can be a good way to incentivize, is that the right word? Encourage people to come and support your campaign. Now, Kickstarter actually has something called add-on items, which are fantastic, because if you're like me, and you want to do stretch goals are just amazing. It used to get really confusing. So basically, a stretch goal is like a secondary goal or third goal, so on. So for example, our first pin, £600 goal. Well, I think we said 660, didn't we? And then rounded up to 700. We're gonna say 700, okay? Let's just say that's our goal. I want to make another enamel pin after if we hit that goal, because sometimes you'll hit that goal and go way over it. You can do stretch goals. So for another 700, so if we hit 1,400, I'll make another pin design. And that's all well and good, but like I said, it used to get really confusing with the rewards, especially if you started including other items like bookmarks, stickers, anything that isn't your main item. But now they have add-ons, which is just fantastic. So you can set them up as an add-on item and people can just add them to their pledge. It's beautiful, it's genius, and I love it. Okay, so we've set up our rewards. Next is story. Okay, the story can be a little bit daunting when you go in there and it says, write about your project like you're explaining it to a friend. And you've got this big white box and you look at everybody else's and they've got so much information. It's like, where do I start? So I am going to give you some prompt ideas for what you could talk about in your project description. I will leave this prompt list below. Check out the description so that you can have a look. You don't have to choose to use every single prompt I've put in. You can pick and choose what you want. You don't have to use it at all if you know what you want to write, but it's just to give you a little bit of a starting point in case you're not sure what to talk about in your project description. There's also a section for risks and challenges. It's a good idea just to kind of give them a little bit of heads up, like, you know, well, if this happens, then we might run into this problem, but I would fix it by doing this, you know? Things like that. Environmental commitments. Now this is fairly new, but you can add in kind of whether you use sustainable materials, long-lasting designs, things like that. Next, plan. Wow, this is an empty page and I have not ever seen it. So I'm going to skip, sorry, it's not bringing anything up. When you set up a Kickstarter account, you can add all of your information in your profile. I think it's a good idea to introduce yourself so that people know who you are, what you're doing, where do you come from. You can add a vanity URL so that it's prettier, basically, rather than being a load of letters and numbers. If you've got anybody you're collaborating with and things like that, you can add all of the information in here. Okay, this is the important part. This is where you verify all of your details, and this is what takes a little while. So you have to fill out each section, your contact details, who's raising funds for this project, like are you an individual or are you like a business? And basically each step gets checked and you can't do like the next step until the last step has been done or the previous step has been done. So for example, we can't get project verification until we've done the above steps, the project type. So once you've done the project verification, which I think requires you to, hang on. Oh, there we go, let me do it straight away. Okay, so you have to verify your information, which I think is I think you have to do like an ID, I can't remember because this has changed slightly since the olden days, and it's only for my last project that I kind of did it this new way. Before, I think you had to scan and upload a picture of like your driving license or something like that, or passport, whereas this is a little bit different. I think you might do it with your card, but don't quote me on that. Either way, each step has to be done and verified and completed before you can move on to the next step. Then you've got your bank account, payment source, so on and so forth. Once you've done that, you can go onto your pre-launch page. Let's pretend that we've kind of set everything up. You've been verified, which, by the way, bear in mind, does take a little while. And just to let you know, you can submit your campaign for review, which is, I think, the next step. and still make changes afterwards. So as long as you've got the basics in there, you can submit it for review and then carry on working on it. That's the way that I tend to do it. As long as you don't make any major changes and it's just like a little bit of information and some graphics and things like that, like, it's totally fine. They just want to make sure that you're not like submitting a project for something that's illegal and things like that. So anyway, preparing for launch, once you've submitted it for review, you'll get like a URL for the project so that people can come and find your page and click to be notified on launch. They'll get like reminders and things like that. This will tell you kind of how many people are following your project. Google Analytics, I don't use that. And then, like I said, once everything's complete, you can submit your whole project for review. And again, that takes a little while as well. So you definitely need to give yourself enough time to work through all of these steps, and it can seem like a lot of work. I'd recommend working on it bit by bit. Get yourself a nice to-do list, just work through it bit by bit, tick it all off in a nice satisfying way. It will feel really good. I would definitely recommend sharing the process with your social media followers while you're making the campaign. First of all, it kind of drums up interest, it makes sure that people are aware of it, and people like to see kind of behind the scenes, like, oh, I'm designing this today, and oh, look at this mock-up. And plus you can get an idea of whether people are actually interested in your product to begin with. Oh, I just kicked the chair really hard. Oh my god. Yeah, sharing the process behind the scenes helps to build excitement for your campaign, so that when you've got your launch page, more people will hopefully go on and tick it to be notified. Now, if your project does get funded, when you come to the end of the campaign and you've reached your goal or exceeded it, and it does get funded, you just need to be aware that the funds don't just drop into your bank straight away. It takes a few weeks. Now, I think they say 2 weeks, but I think there's like a little bit of small text somewhere that says plus the time it takes for your bank to process it. I don't think I've ever had my money 2 weeks on the dot after it's ended. The 2 weeks gives them time to collect all the payments for everyone, because these backers, your backers, don't get charged until the end of the campaign. So that's another good thing to kind of put in your story, is to let people know that they're not going to get charged when they make the pledge. So it doesn't matter if they don't have money until payday, they can still do it now. They're not going to get charged until the end of the campaign. But because of that, it means that sometimes people's payments error, and Kickstarter then need time to kind of chase them and say, you know, or you need to pay for this in the politest way possible. It's so windy out there. I don't know if you can hear this. It's like blowing a hoolie. Okay, while your campaign is running, one of the things that most people notice is that there tends to be a big spike at the beginning, and you'll get quite a lot of action, hopefully, and then it drops off and it plateaus for like the majority of the campaign, and then it'll pick back up again at the end, normally because there's excitement because it's just started, and then there's excitement because it's just ending. Plus you will be featured in searches on Kickstarter and things like that at the beginning and at the end of your campaign. So the middle period can be quite quiet, so just be aware. There are things you can do to keep excitement up, but you know, social media engagement isn't great for a lot of people at the moment, so relying solely on social media isn't necessarily going to win it for you. Adding in stretch goals and things like that as you go helps keep engagement up. I'm going to give free stickers out if I hit 100 backers. Creates excitement. So things like that can really help. You can also share updates with your backers throughout the campaign. Every time a goal is unlocked, or I don't know, whether you're thinking of a new design and things like that, you can do that while the campaign's running, and then even when the campaign's ended as well. And it's really good just to keep them in the loop. You know, they are investing in you, they believe in you and your product, so it's really important that you share this information with them and let them be a part of the process, because I think that's what's so special about Kickstarters, is that it's not just you on your own making this project or this product. You've got all of these amazing people on board that are involved and helping you and supporting you and cheering you on from the sidelines. So yeah, they are a really big part of the project. So that's why it's good to get them involved in the process. Sometimes you will run a campaign and unfortunately it won't get funded. It won't be successful. It's hard not to feel disheartened when this happens. I've been through it myself, but all you can do is pick yourself back up, dust yourself off, analyse why it didn't get funded, and maybe try again, or maybe don't. You do really need to think about the reason why it wasn't funded, and you could potentially, you know, especially if you were like almost there, think, well, you know, I just didn't have enough people, like I was only like £50 away from my target. Oh, because by the way, if you don't hit your goal, you don't get any of the money. Nobody gets charged. But like I said, it's really important to think about the reason that it didn't get funded and almost treat it like market research, because maybe that product isn't actually going to do that well in the real world. My first enamel pin was a little hot air balloon, and basically we just reached the goal on the last day, like really close to the end. And I think I got 100 pins. And 5 years later, I still have so many of those pins. Now I have other pins that I've bought 100 of and I've sold out within months. So that just gives you an idea. Now, if I'd known what I knew now back then, would I have gone ahead with it? Would I have just cancelled the campaign kind of before the end, the funding goal? Probably would have cancelled it. However, I don't regret my, you know, that I went ahead with it, because it's what kickstarted my little business. So that's just something that you need to think about. Is it worth it to go ahead with this item, even if it's not been that popular? You know, do you want to fund it yourself and just go ahead with it anyway? Or if you've let the campaign run out, let me just say this, if you've let the campaign end, then you have your duty to fulfill and you have to go ahead and make it. You can't not make it for backers. If people have backed you and you've reached your goal, you have to. But I mean, like, before you get to the end of the campaign, if it's going really slowly, you need to have a little think, is this actually worth it? Because now if I had a campaign that wasn't doing well, I just wouldn't do it. Like I said, think of it as market research. And if it is unsuccessful, you can always try again. I had my second campaign, I think, was unsuccessful. Like, I don't think we were anywhere near the end. It ended, I was gutted. And then I tried again like a few months later and got 3 unlocked. Or 2 unlocked? 2 unlocked. 2. So I got the initial goal and a stretch goal. Sometimes it can just be the time of year or something that you did. You can always try again. Don't be too down on yourself if you do fail, because there's always next time. Okay, so I'm going to answer some questions that you guys have put to me on Instagram about Kickstarter in this section now. And if there are any other questions, like if I get loads of the same question in the comments on this video, I will put them in the description. I will have like a FAQ, so be sure to check out the description in case there's any questions that you have, because they may have already been answered. Right, I had a question about tax, ins and outs. Some people, some believe to not pay or save 20% from the total. How do you incorporate saving this, especially when it's a larger sum? So I am not an expert when it comes to tax, accounting, anything like this. So if anybody is an expert, please feel free to chime in below. But as far as I'm aware, and now this only relates to the UK, can I just put that out there? I cannot comment for any other country, unfortunately. So you pay 20% tax. Now you pay that tax for profit. So if you in a year, say, made, I don't know, 20 grand in sales and 10 of that was profit, you don't pay the tax on the whole 20 grand. In fact, you probably wouldn't pay any tax because you're under the threshold, but that's not the point. We'll pretend the threshold doesn't exist. You would pay tax just on that 10 grand profit, because that 10 grand of outgoings, unless you've spent it on shoes and makeup and food, if it's all on business expenses, it's business expenses. So if it's the cost of running your business, the products, the supplies and things like that, equipment, you don't pay tax on that. So as far as I understand it, if I make 2 grand on this Kickstarter, for example, and I've worked out all my funding correctly, that 2 grand is going to come into me, and that 2 grand is going to go straight back out to pay for the pins, to pay for backing cards, to pay for boxes, for postage, to pay for the shipping itself. So it's all going to go back out the door. So none of it is profit. That's the way that I understand it. I have never saved 20% of it for tax, ever. Because it always goes straight back out. Like I said, I am not a tax expert, so I apologise, but I do my best. Okay, next question. Packaging, thinking about all the different products and how they're going to fit or be sent out, plus the price. Okay, so how you do the packaging and work it into your Kickstarter is kind of up to you. So for me, for example, I have my enamel pins and my backing cards. Now I include my backing card cost into the initial goal. Now I know that my enamel pins, I can fit this many in a box because I've been running my business for a while now. So it's a good idea to probably test out your product, see if it fits in a box. I mean, even if you don't have the actual product, you can print out a piece of paper of the right size, you know, and to see what kind of box it's going to fit in. So I include my box cost and all of my packaging material in the shipping cost. So that £5 that someone from the USA is going to pay for shipping, that covers the actual shipping, and that covers the cost of my box, my postcards that go inside, my stickers, my labels, my tissue paper. That is all paid for in there. So I hope that makes sense and helps. But yeah, if you're not sure and you know this is your first time doing products and things like that, I would definitely do like a test. Even if it's buying one from someone else, someone's got something similar to what you want to make, you know, like enamel pins. If it was my first enamel pin, I'd buy someone else's enamel pin and see what box it comes in, see what size it comes in, see how much it weighs so you can work out the shipping cost, things like that. There are things you can do for market research. And yes, it might be a bit cheeky buying someone else's pin purely for the fact of doing market research, but market research is totally okay. So I hope that helps, but yeah, I would definitely just do some testing ahead of time. Stretch goals, calculating how they'll work, especially if it's different items like notepads, enamel pins, stickers, and so forth. So as I said, with stretch goals, it can be a little bit messy, but now that they've got the add-on option for Kickstarter, it's really, really super handy, especially if they're all different items. If you're running something and it's the same item like enamel pins, it's fairly easy because you can just have a reward for 1 pin, 2 pins, 3 pins, so on and so forth. But then, you know, what do you do when you start getting, well, we've got now 3 pins and 2 sticker designs and a badge, like, you know, you're going to have rewards coming out your ears. That's where add-on items are amazing, because you can just have the pins as the rewards, and then you can have your add-on items as additional pins in case people want to add extra ones onto their pledges. You can have your bookmarks and your badges and your stickers and whatever else you're having as an add-on item, so people could just add them onto their pledge, and it's fantastic, and it works like a dream. You can even, on the add-on items, if it's like a heavy item, you can add additional shipping on, so that you don't get caught out. Yeah, so I hope that answers all of your questions. I really hope that this video has helped you, has given you a little bit of an insight into how Kickstarter works, what it looks like, what you need to do, and what you need to look out for. If anyone has any questions, feel free to leave them below. As I said, do check out the description first because there might be some questions that have already been asked in there, a little FAQ for you. I will also leave the information for your story prompts so that you've got an idea of what you can write about, and I'll also leave a link to my last campaign, which unfortunately you can't back, but you can check it out for inspiration if you want. You can look at how I do it, what I've done, and maybe get some ideas for your own one. So thank you so much for watching, and I will be back again soon for another video. Bye for now.